تمام. لكي نصل بمدة الفيديو إلى 15 دقيقة يجب أن نغوص بعمق في التفاصيل ونحلل نفس النقاط، ولكن بأبعاد نفسية واقتصادية أوسع، ونضيف ستوري تيلينج، سرد قصصي يجعل المشاهد يشعر بأنه جزء من حدث تاريخي. لقد قمت بتوسيع السكريبت ليشمل تحليل نفسي للسوق، الفرق بين عقلية المقامر وعقلية المؤسسات، شرح تفصيلي للبيانات. بدلاً من مجرد ذكر المؤشرات، شرحت لماذا تعمل هذه المؤشرات. سياق أوسع، ربط XRP بحركة بيتكوين وإيثيريوم والاقتصاد العالمي. تكرار الرسالة الأساسية براندنج لترسيخ اسمي Power Wealth. إليك السكريبت الكامل، حوالي 2100-2400 كلمة، وهو مصمم ليكون إيقاعه متوازناً ليغطي 15 دقيقة. All right, everyone, stop exactly what you are doing. Put the phone down, close the other tabs, and look at the screen. Because this morning didn't just feel different, it was different. We just witnessed $23 million worth of XRP traded in a single minute. 1 minute. I want you to let that sink in for a second. Do you honestly think that's retail traders waking up on a Sunday and deciding to throw cash around? Do you think that's a bot algorithm chasing a random tweet? No, absolutely not. That is institutional allocation. That is a whale or a group of whales knowing something that you don't know yet. The markets are absolutely ripping right now. Green everywhere you look. Charts lighting up like a Christmas tree. But if you think this is just another pump or just another bounce, you are missing the bigger picture. This isn't speculation anymore. This is structural. Welcome to Power Wealth. Today we are going to break down exactly why the switch has just been flipped, why 2026 is starting with a bang, and why you need to pay attention right now before the masses catch up. Let's step back and look at the atmosphere. Can you feel it? Momentum is back in the room. This is the moment we've been waiting for through an entire, long, brutal year of accumulation. Stepping into 2026, it finally feels like the stars are aligning. But today we aren't just doing a little technical analysis. We are doing deep dive macro analysis. We are breaking down what Ripple is actually doing behind the scenes, why they are doing it now, and yes, we are going straight to the live charts, because what is showing up there deserves your full, undivided attention. There is something about waking up to green candles that hits different, especially when we are holding above that critical 2 or 0 level. We love to see it. But trust me, it's going to feel even better when we're waking up above $3, $4, $5, or even $10. Those mornings are coming. But to get there, we have to understand the foundation being built right now. Let's start with the catalyst that most people ignored. Ripple casually dropped a new commercial this week. Now, if you are new to this space, you might think, so what? It's just an ad. But here at Power Wealth, we know better. Ripple doesn't run commercials just to get attention. They don't do this for brand awareness like a soda company. They do this when the pipes are already laid. They do this when the partners are signed, sealed, and delivered. They do this when the regulatory fog is cleared and the timing finally makes sense. If you watched that commercial and you blinked, you missed the real message. They weren't selling hype. They weren't screaming to the moon. They weren't pitching price targets. They were selling infrastructure. They were selling global payments, global real estate, and cross-border value transfer at scale. When you combine those markets, you are looking at roughly $650 trillion in total market size. Let that number sit with you. $650 trillion, that is not crypto Twitter math. That is not wishful thinking. That is the actual size of the derivatives and payments markets Ripple is positioning XRP inside of. Notice the tone of the commercial. It was calm. It was confident. It was almost casual. Like transforming global finance is just another day at the office. That is exactly how institutions talk when the heavy lifting is already done. They weren't explaining blockchain basics. They weren't trying to convince skeptics. They were positioning Ripple as the new standard. That opening line in the ad, there's a moment when potential becomes reality. That is not aspirational language. That is transitional language. That is what you say when you believe the shift is already underway. They contrasted legacy systems, the delays, the friction, the closed borders, with instant value and seamless movement. That is infrastructure level change. And Ripple is planting its flag right in the middle of it. Now, why does this matter to us as investors? Because context is everything. When you see a company acting like the backbone of the next financial era, surrounded by regulators and decision makers in New York City, you realize they aren't asking for permission anymore. They are stating facts. And when you pair that real world context with what we are seeing on the charts, things go from exciting to absolutely stupid bullish. Let's transition to the data because this is where Power Wealth separates the signal from the noise. I told you back in December that January would be the ignition point. I said the push starts here. And now you are watching it play out in real time. Look at the long-term indicators. I'm talking about the MACD on the weekly time frame for altcoins. This is not surface level day trading nonsense. This is cycle level data. The long-term MACD has just flipped bullish for the first time in years. When I say years, I mean 4 or 5 years depending on how you measure the cycle. This signal only shows up when a full market regime is changing. The last time this exact thing happened, altcoins didn't just go up, they exploded. We saw broad-based moves where entire sectors did 10x, 20x, even 30x returns. Not overnight, but over the course of the cycle once momentum took hold. I know there is someone watching this right now thinking, yeah, but this time is different. And you know what? You are absolutely right. It is different, but not in the way you think. Last cycle, we didn't have regulatory clarity forming in real time. We didn't have institutional rails going live. We didn't have spot ETFs soaking up millions of dollars of supply day after day. We didn't have tokenized real-world assets stepping onto blockchain infrastructure. And we definitely didn't have Ripple coming off a shopping spree, acquiring major companies to lock in strategic dominance. So yes, this time is different. It's different because the foundation is concrete. This market isn't being built for retail gamblers anymore. It's being built for governments and banks. And that is why the move up is going to be more violent and more sustained than anything we have seen before. Let's zero in on XRP specifically. I want to highlight a chart pattern that never lies. The weekly RSI. Look at the bottom of your screen. You see that purple line and the yellow line? Every single time that purple line crosses above the yellow line on the weekly time frame, it has historically marked the beginning of a major expansion phase. Let's rewind the tape. Go back to November 2024. We saw the crossover. What happened next? XRP went from roughly 0.55 all the way up to around 3 TOR. That was a 577% move. And that move didn't happen because of hype. It happened because the structure said it was time. Now look at June 2025, another crossover. What did we get? An 80% move. Clean, measured, respectable. Fast forward to today, right now, as we speak. We are seeing the same setup forming again. The RSI is crossing over, the MACD is flipping bullish, and the price is holding above key structural support at $2.00. So the real question, the million-dollar question, is this. Do we repeat the smaller move and get another 80% run? Which, let's be honest, would still be incredible. Or do we repeat the November-style move and rip another 500% to 600%, pushing XRP deep into double-digit territory? My targets haven't changed. I've been very clear about them on this channel. The first major zone is $4.00 to $6.50. That is the conservative, easy target. But the next zone, that's where lives change. That is the $8.00 to $13.00 range. And looking at the volume, looking at the institutional flows, I am pushing for the double digits. I really am. But that only happens if you can actually hold through the noise. That only happens if you don't panic sell when we get a 10% correction. That only happens if you have the power wealth mindset. And speaking of volume, let's go back to that $23 million candle I mentioned at the start. I need to explain why this is so critical. In financial markets, there is a golden rule. Volume always precedes price. Price is the headline. Volume is the confession. When you see $23 million traded in 1 minute on a sleepy Sunday, that is the market confessing to you that big money is entering the room. That is what we call allocation. It's not just buying, it's positioning for the next 6 to 12 months. These institutions aren't day trading. They aren't trying to scalp a 5% profit. They are positioning for a multi-trillion-dollar shift in how money moves around the world, and they are doing it right under your nose. The fact that this volume is showing up now, just as the technicals are flipping bullish, confirms everything we have been talking about. It confirms that the breakout is real. It confirms that the smart money is done accumulating and is ready to let the price run. Let's zoom out and look at the broader market for a second to get some context. Bitcoin is looking incredibly strong, holding its structure and giving confidence to the rest of the market. Ethereum is back above key resistance levels. Total crypto market cap is sitting comfortably above $3 trillion. This is a healthy, constructive environment. XRP is leading the charge, sitting right behind Dogecoin in year-to-date gains. This rotation of capital is exactly what we want to see. When profits rotate from Bitcoin to high-cap altcoins like XRP, that is the signal for alt season. Now, I want to address the risks because we are transparent here. Yes, the average crypto RSI is creeping into overbought territory. Yes, we might see some volatility, but in a strong bull market, overbought can stay overbought for weeks or even months. You don't short a runaway train. You don't stand in front of a steamroller. You ride the trend until the trend bends. And right now, the trend is pointing straight up. Tomorrow, the ETFs reopen, the banking week starts. That means more institutional flows, more quiet buying, more corporate treasury allocation. On top of that, I fully expect announcements out of Ripple to kick off the new year. That is their style. They don't tease, they execute. So as we move forward from here, understand this. We are no longer in the what if phase. We are in the it's happening phase. Ripple is signaling readiness. The charts are signaling expansion. The volume is signaling confidence. And history tells us that when all three align, things don't move slowly. They move fast. So, what is your plan? Are you going to watch the chart every 5 minutes and stress yourself out? Or are you going to trust the structure? The people who win these cycles aren't the loudest. They aren't the ones jumping from coin to coin. They are the ones who were positioned before the move started and who had the discipline to see it through. That is the power wealth way. Wealth. This is the moment where wealth transfers happen. Not when the news is on every TV screen. By then, it's too late. It happens right now, in the moments of uncertainty, in the moments where the structure is just starting to form. We are tracking these institutional moves every single week. We are watching the dark pools, the whale wallets, and the regulatory filings. If you want to stay ahead of the crowd, you are in the right place. I want you to take a deep breath. Look at your portfolio. Understand what you are holding. You aren't just holding a token. You are holding a piece of the future financial infrastructure. 2.00 XRP is going to look incredibly cheap in retrospect, just like $0.50 in XRP looks cheap now. The train has left the station, but it hasn't reached top speed yet. You are still early enough to make this count. So do me a favor. If you appreciate the truth, if you appreciate the data, hit that thumbs up button. It helps the algorithm get this message to more people who need to wake up. Make sure you are subscribed because we are going to be covering this move every step of the way. We aren't going anywhere. 2026 is our year. The targets are set. The institutions are here. The volume is speaking. Now it's up to you to execute. Stay sharp, stay patient, stick to the plan. This is Power Wealth, and I'll catch you all on the next update. Let's get it.